At first, everything appeared normal. Trump smiled. Ivanka seemed composed. Across from them, Jasmine Crockett sat quietly, prepared to reveal a truth so startling that by the end of the night, nothing and no one would remain the same, least of all Trump and Ivanka. The studio lights blazed to life, casting a warm golden hue across the stage. Cameras rolled, applause filled the air, and Donald Trump entered the room. His presence was unmistakable. He didn't just walk in. He owned the space with a familiar wave and confident grin. He absorbed the crowd's energy like a man certain the evening belonged to him. The camera followed his every move, each gesture, each glance. Trump adjusted his jacket, lifted his chin, and radiated the confidence that had carried him through countless public appearances. Beside him, Ivanka moved gracefully, polished and poised. Her smile was perfect, calm and practiced. She took her seat neatly, crossing her legs, exuding control and composure. The host began warmly, eager to set a friendly tone. Mr. Trump, millions are watching tonight. You've faced many challenges over the years. What keeps you moving forward? What's your source of strength? It was a question Trump knew well. He leaned toward the mic, scanning the crowd. His voice came out firm, measured, almost rehearsed. My family, they're my strength. Ivanka Barron, all of them, the most loyal, the best anyone could ask for. The audience applauded, and Trump's grin widened. He tapped the desk lightly, nodding as if to say, "That's the truth." Ivanka's smile didn't waver. She glanced at him, then back to the audience, her expression calm but unreadable. On camera, she looked like the proud daughter. Yet under the bright lights, her stillness hinted at something deeper, something unseen. Meanwhile, Jasmine Crockett sat opposite them, quiet, focused. She didn't clap when the crowd did. She didn't nod at Trump's words. Her steady gaze stayed fixed on him, patient, waiting. Trump, however, was in his comfort zone. He leaned back, pleased with his own rhythm. When you lead, strength matters. People look to your family to see who you are. My family, my loyalty, my values, that's what defines me. The audience clapped again, and Trump gave his trademark hand wave, signaling, case closed. But it wasn't closed, not even close. While Trump based in his own words, Jasmine remained composed, unimpressed. She knew something the rest of the room didn't, and she wasn't going to keep it hidden much longer. The host glanced toward her, but kept the focus on Trump. It was safe television. The leader talking about family, the audience responding, Ivanka smiling as if everything was perfect. Yet beneath that flawless image, cracks were forming, the way Ivanka avoided eye contact when Trump mentioned Barron, the faint tension in her hands, and Jasmine's expression, calm yet knowing. The studio atmosphere began to change. Applause softened. Attention sharpened. The audience couldn't explain it, but something was building Trump didn't notice. He continued his monologue, too absorbed in his message to see the shift around him. America needs strong families, he declared, and no one has a stronger one than mine. At that moment, Jasmine leaned forward slightly, a subtle signal. The audience didn't yet realize what was coming. Trump didn't either. Ivanka likely did, which explained her stillness. But Jasmine was ready. What she was about to say would ignite a moment no one could undo. As the last of the applause faded, Jasmine finally spoke. Until then, her hands had rested calmly on the table, her eyes unwavering. The host was about to change topics when her voice cut through the air, steady, clear, and sharp. Mr. Trump, she began, you talk about strength, honesty, and family defining you. But what if that story isn't as truthful as you make it sound? The room fell silent. No one expected that. Not live, not on air. Trump blinked momentarily, caught off guard before quickly regaining his composure. He leaned forward. Excuse me, my family's the strongest. Everyone knows it. Don't start with nonsense. Jasmine didn't flinch. That's exactly the problem, she replied calmly. You present an image of perfection, the ideal father, the loyal family. But what if the truth is different? What if you've been hiding something about your family? The audience shifted. Murmurs spread across the studio. Ivanka's smile remained, but her eyes flicked toward her father, then back to Jasmine. Trump laughed awkwardly, waving his hand. Ridiculous fake. She's making things up. But Jasmine stayed composed, her tone steady. I'm not making anything up, and I wouldn't say this without proof. The public deserves honesty, especially from those who use their family as their strength. The host froze, torn between keeping order and letting the tension unfold. The camera zoomed in on Trump's face, his jaw tight, his expression strained. His usual composure was slipping. Then Jasmine asked the question that silenced the entire room. Why don't you tell them who Barron's real mother is? The studio fell into stunned silence. Gasps echoed across the audience. Some covered their mouths, others whispered in disbelief. The air was thick, charged, as if everyone had just witnessed something irreversible. The studio seats were filled. Trump slammed his hand on the desk, voice rising. How dare you? That's a disgusting lie. You have no idea what you're talking about, shameful. Absolutely shameful. But the louder he grew, the calmer Jasmine became. She didn't raise her voice or argue. She simply observed him, letting his anger echo through the room. Then calmly yet firmly, she said, It's not a lie. It's not gossip. It's fact. And I have the documents to prove it. The audience gasped louder this time. The host leaned forward, hands clasped, unsure whether to stop or let it unfold. Ivanka gripped her chair's armrest until her knuckles turned white. She sat motionless, her silence saying more than words. Trump tried to laugh it off, shaking his head. She's crazy. Totally crazy. Nobody believes that. But the room had shifted. The audience wasn't clapping now. Their attention was on Jasmine. She had control. She didn't need to shout or match his volume. Her strength was in her composure and the quiet certainty of her words. The truth isn't always comfortable, Mr. Trump, she continued, her voice slicing through the tension. But when someone hides the truth, when power is built on deception, people deserve to know. And tonight, they will. The cameras captured every detail: Trump's flushed face, Ivanka's frozen stare, Jasmine's steady calm. The studio felt less like a show and more like a courtroom, and Jasmine was presenting her opening argument. The tension was thick. Everyone sensed she was about to reveal something major. But what? Moments earlier, the studio had echoed with cheers for Trump's remarks about family. Now it was filled with silence and unease. Trump leaned forward again, face red, hands slamming the desk. This is outrageous. You think you can attack my family on live television? You're a disgrace, Jasmine, his voice thundered. But the crowd remained silent, watching. Some leaned in. Others whispered nervously. Jasmine sat perfectly still, her calm contrasting sharply with his fury. Tilting her head slightly, she said softly, The louder you yell, the clearer it becomes that you don't want this truth to come out. The words hit hard. A wave of gas swept the room. Trump shifted uncomfortably, looking around as if realizing the audience was no longer with him. Finally, Ivanka spoke, her usually composed voice trembling. This is nonsense. My father has always told the truth about our family. How dare you suggest something so vile? She leaned toward Jasmine, eyes sharp. You're just trying to embarrass us. You don't care about truth. You want attention. Jasmine didn't react. Her voice stayed calm, deliberate. No, Ivanka, this isn't about embarrassment. It's about accountability. When a leader hides something significant, something that could change how people see him, the public deserves to know this isn't about me. It's about honesty, Trump cut in, pointing a finger. You're lying. You're trying to destroy my family with fake documents and baseless claims. Nobody believes you. But again, the silence in the room told another story. The audience wasn't siding with him. They waited, eager to see Jasmine's next move. Ivanka tried again, voice sharper, her polished calm gone. You don't understand the harm you're causing. Families deserve privacy. Children deserve protection. Bringing Barron into this is disgusting. For the first time, Jasmine's expression softened. She nodded slightly, acknowledging Ivanka's words. Then she answered firmly, You're right. Children should be protected. But this isn't about Barron. It's about the lies told around him. When a child's life is used to shield a political image, that's when truth matters most. The audience murmured again. Some even clapped quietly, not out of excitement, but respect for Jasmine's restraint. Trump slammed the desk once more. You think anyone cares about this? They care about strength, leadership, not your fake drama. Jasmine leaned back, her calm, almost unsettling, locking eyes with him. She said, "If nobody cares, then why are you so afraid?" Gasps erupted. Even the host looked stunned. Trump froze, speechless. His mouth opened, then closed. No comeback ready Ivanka, pale now, reached for his arm, her hand trembling. She could sense what was coming. Turning toward the audience, Jasmine's voice carried across the room. The truth is uncomfortable. It challenges power, but it's also simple. And tonight, everyone watching deserves to hear it. The air tightened. The cameras zoomed in. The host leaned closer. Trump gripped the desk so hard his knuckles widened. Ivanka sat frozen, eyes locked on Jasmine, silently pleading for her to stop. But it was too late. Jasmine had control of the room, the moment, and the truth. The silence that followed was electric. Every eye in the studio was fixed on her. Then slowly, Jasmine reached under the desk and lifted a thick manila folder. She placed it in front of her with deliberate care, the weight of it heavier than any word spoken that night. The host's eyes widened as he leaned in and whispered. Everything appeared normal at first. Trump was smiling, Ivanka calm, but across from them sat Jasmine Crockett, silent and composed, ready to reveal a secret that would leave no one in that room unchanged, especially not Trump or Ivanka. Bright studio lights illuminated the stage. Cameras rolled and applause filled the air as Donald Trump entered. His presence was commanding, confident, practiced. He waved to the crowd with his familiar grin, soaking in the energy as though the night already belonged to him. The cameras followed every step, every motion. He adjusted his suit, lifted his chin, and carried the self-assuredness that had defined his public life. Beside him, Ivanka walked in gracefully, polished, poised, her smile carefully in place. She sat down neatly, projecting composure and control. The host greeted them warmly, eager to begin. "Mr. Trump," he said, "millions are watching tonight. You've faced many challenges over the years. What keeps you going? What gives you strength?" It was a question Trump seemed prepared for. He leaned toward the mic, sweeping the audience with his gaze. His tone was firm, steady, almost rehearsed. "My family," he said. "They keep me going. They've always been my strength. Ivanka, Barron, all of them. The most loyal, the best anyone could have." The audience applauded. Trump smiled wider, tapping the desk as if to affirm his own words. Ivanka's smile remained fixed. She glanced at him, then at the audience, her face unreadable. To viewers at home, she looked like a proud daughter. But beneath the lights, her stillness suggested something deeper. Then came Jasmine's turn. Trump's expression remained confident, unaware of what was coming. Jasmine didn't waste time. She looked directly at him and spoke calmly but firmly. "You accuse me of lying," she began. "You say I invent stories, but I never speak without evidence. And what I hold in my hands is proof." Trump leaned forward, interrupting loudly. "Fake. It's all fake. Don't believe a word," she says. "Another witch hunt. Another smear attempt." But his shouting only amplified Jasmine's composure. She slowly opened the folder in front of her, the sound of papers brushing together, echoing across the room. The audience leaned in. She raised a stack of documents toward the cameras. "These are not rumors or opinions," she said. "These are verified records, legal documents, hospital reports, DNA results, all leading to one truth that's been hidden for years." Trump slammed his hand on the table. "Lies. Those are doctored. Everything can be faked. Signatures, reports, photos, total garbage." Jasmine didn't react. Turning toward the cameras, she spoke clearly. "These records have been verified, cross-checked, and notarized. This isn't gossip, it's fact. And the fact is this: Ivanka Trump is Barron's biological mother." The room erupted. Gasps filled the air, drowning out the host's attempts to restore order. The crowd whispered in disbelief. Trump stood pointing at Jasmine, his face flushed. "How dare you? This is an attack on my family, on my children. You should be ashamed. Cut her mic. Cut it now." But the mic stayed on. The cameras kept rolling. Ivanka sat motionless, pale, eyes flicking between Jasmine and the folder. Her lips parted slightly, but no words came out. The silence around her spoke louder than anything she could have said. "Miss Crockett," the host finally managed, "that's an extraordinary claim." "Extraordinary claims," Jasmine replied evenly, "require extraordinary evidence. And tonight I've brought it. These documents show the timeline, medical proof, and legal signatures. The story presented by Mr. Trump isn't what he's told the public, and people deserve to know." The audience gasped again. Some even clapped, not in approval, but out of shock that someone had confronted Trump so directly. Trump, trembling with anger, shouted again, "This is illegal. You'll pay for this. Everyone spreading these lies will regret it." Jasmine didn't look at him. She faced the camera. "This isn't about destroying anyone," she said. "It's about truth. Leaders can't demand trust while concealing their deepest secrets. Accountability requires honesty. No lie, no matter how personal, should be untouchable." The studio descended into chaos. Trump shouting, the host overwhelmed, Ivanka silent. But Jasmine remained calm, her papers still in hand. The truth now hung in the air, uncontainable. What had once been whispered was now public, live for the entire world to see. Trump demanded the broadcast stop. Ivanka sat frozen, her silence heavier than his anger. The host struggled to regain control, but the moment no longer belonged to him. It belonged to Jasmine Crockett. She didn't need to raise her voice. The documents in her hand spoke for her. The audience felt the weight of it. Viewers at home felt it too. "This is not about humiliation or family drama," she continued. "This is about responsibility. When leaders hide personal truths, they show us they're capable of lying about anything. If they can manipulate their own stories, how can the public trust them with the nation's story?" Trump slammed his fist again, but fewer people listened. Attention had shifted. The audience was focused entirely on Jasmine. She lifted another page and tapped it lightly. "These records show what was hidden. But more than the secret itself, it's the act of concealment that matters. When leaders control narratives, they shield themselves, their image, their money, their power. The longer the lie stands, the stronger it becomes. That's why exposure matters." The host stopped trying to interject. His expression mirrored the crowd, pale, stunned, understanding that there was no stopping this moment. Jasmine had taken control. She turned once more to the cameras. "Ask yourselves this," she said. "Why do politicians hide such truths? Why rewrite personal histories or silence anyone who questions them? The answer is simple. They fear scandal. They fear losing control. And they fear the public discovering that the image they project isn't real." The room fell silent again. Even Trump had run out of words. His anger burned quietly, but it couldn't overpower the truth now in front of everyone. "When secrets like this are buried," Jasmine continued, "it's not just about family privacy. It affects legal matters, inheritance, custody, taxes, even political leverage. Every buried truth weakens public trust. That's why exposure matters, not for gossip or headlines, but for accountability." The murmuring began again, softer this time, thoughtful. Some in the audience nodded, others clapped quietly. The message had sunk in. Jasmine set the papers back into the folder, folding her hands on top. "I know the risks," she said. "Speaking against powerful people invites threats, lawsuits, and attempts to ruin your name. But truth outweighs fear, and if we're ever to demand honesty from those who lead us, we cannot let them bury it." Something the audience couldn't quite identify lingered in the air. And then there was Jasmine Crockett, sitting calmly across the stage. She remained quiet and observant. She didn't clap with the crowd, nor did she nod when Trump spoke about his family. Her eyes stayed focused on him, steady, analytical, waiting for the right moment. Trump, meanwhile, seemed entirely in his comfort zone. Relaxed, he leaned back, speaking with the rhythm and confidence of someone used to the spotlight. "When you're a leader, strength matters. People judge you by your family, my children, my loyalty, my values. Those define who I am." The audience applauded again. Trump gave his usual hand wave, signaling he'd made his point. But the discussion wasn't over. In fact, it was only beginning. While Trump spoke with pride, Jasmine remained still, exuding a different kind of composure. She wasn't impressed or persuaded. She carried knowledge that others in the room didn't yet know, something she intended to reveal soon. The host glanced toward Jasmine, aware of her silence, but kept the focus on Trump. It made for easy television. Trump praising family values, the audience responding positively, Ivanka smiling as if everything were perfect. Yet beneath that perfect image, small cracks appeared, subtle, almost invisible. The way Ivanka avoided her father's eyes when he mentioned Baron's name, the slight tension in her hands gripping the chair, and Jasmine's expression, calm but telling, as if she already knew the truth. The atmosphere in the studio started to shift. The applause softened. Attention grew heavier. The crowd didn't understand why, but they sensed a change. Trump didn't notice. He was too immersed in his own speech, unaware of Jasmine's stare, Ivanka's forced composure, or the crowd's quiet anticipation. America needs strong families, he said, and no family is stronger than mine. At that moment, Jasmine leaned forward slightly, a small but deliberate motion. The audience didn't yet realize what was coming. Trump didn't either. Ivanka perhaps did. Her stillness gave it away. Jasmine was ready. What she was about to reveal would turn that confident speech into something entirely different. The clapping had barely faded when Jasmine finally spoke. Until now, she'd sat silently, her hands folded neatly, eyes fixed on Trump. The host began to move the discussion forward, but Jasmine's voice broke through, clear, steady, controlled. "Mr. Trump," she began, her tone calm but commanding, "you speak often about strength, honesty, and how your family represents your values. But that story isn't as honest as it sounds." The room went silent. No one expected her to challenge him like that, especially live on air. Trump blinked momentarily, thrown off, then leaned forward. "Excuse me, my family is the strongest. Everyone knows that. Don't talk nonsense." Jasmine didn't react. Her calm presence was steadying, almost disarming. "That's exactly the issue," she said evenly. "You present a flawless picture, the perfect father, loyal children, unshakable unity. But what if the truth is different? What if you've been hiding something significant about your own family?" The audience shifted uncomfortably. A murmur spread through the room. Ivanka froze, her smile tight, her eyes flicking to her father and then back to Jasmine. Trump laughed, waving his hand dismissively. "Ridiculous, fake. She's making it up, total nonsense." But Jasmine leaned forward, her voice unwavering. "I'm not making anything up, Mr. Trump. I wouldn't say this without evidence. The public deserves honesty, especially when the truth challenges the image you use to claim moral strength." The host looked uncertain, torn between moving on and letting the exchange continue. Cameras focused on Trump's face, red, tense, his composure slipping. Then Jasmine asked the question that froze the room. "Why don't you tell them who Baron's real mother is?" The silence that followed was heavy and immediate. The audience gasped, some whispered. Others simply stared. Chairs shifted as people leaned forward. Trump slammed his hand on the table, his voice rising. "How dare you? That's a disgusting lie. Shameful. Absolutely shameful." But Jasmine didn't lose her cool. She didn't scream or fight back. She just stood and watched him, letting his anger reverberate off the walls. When she spoke again, her voice was tempered but unyielding. "It's not a lie. It's not gossip. It's fact, and I have the documents to prove it." The crowd reacted sharply. The moderator leaned forward, clearly unsure what to do. Ivanka's grip on her chair tightened until her knuckles turned white. She didn't move or say a word, but her silence spoke volumes. Trump shook his head, forcing a hollow laugh. "She's insane. No one believes that." But the mood had shifted. The audience wasn't applauding or smiling anymore. They were watching Jasmine, and she knew she had their attention. Composure was her power. Her calm voice carried more weight than screaming ever would have. "The truth isn't always comfortable, Mr. Trump," she said. "But when power is built on deception, people deserve to know. And tonight, they will." Cameras captured everything. Trump's flushed face, Ivanka's frozen stare, Jasmine's collected focus. The studio no longer felt like a debate. It felt like a hearing. Jasmine had presented her opening argument. The tension was thick. Everyone could sense a major revelation was coming. They just didn't know what it would be. Moments earlier, the room had been filled with cheers for Trump's family values. Now it was filled with unease. Trump leaned forward again, angry, his voice thundering. This is outrageous. You think you can attack my family on live TV? You're a disgrace, Jasmine, a disgrace. No applause followed. The audience simply watched. Some leaned in, eyes wide. Others whispered quietly. Jasmine sat still, her calm presence standing in contrast to Trump's fury. Tilting her head slightly, she replied softly, "The louder you yell, the clearer it becomes that you're afraid of the truth." The audience reacted immediately. Trump shifted in his seat, uneasy, glancing toward the crowd as if their silence betrayed him. Then Ivanka finally spoke, her usually calm voice trembling. "This is nonsense. My father has always been honest about our family. How dare you suggest something so vile?" She turned sharply toward Jasmine. "You're just trying to humiliate us. You don't care about truth. You want attention." But Jasmine stayed composed. Her voice was steady and precise. "No, Ivanka, this isn't about humiliation. It's about accountability. When a leader hides something,